Hello everyone, welcome to my video. So today I wanted to talk about the fact that sometimes we may go to a mentor to ask for advice because, when you're living in the matrix, obviously you have to carry out certain things like have a job, deal with people who are living in the matrix. And this is not like, you know, the light worker community, yes. And by that I mean the real light worker community, not the wannabes. So you may sometimes feel like you need some advice, or sometimes, with different employments, you get training on the job. And I actually started a new position recently, and the first day I went there, basically I'm supposed to be working with another person beside me, but the person didn't even greet me, forget about helping me on the job, or and I mentioned this to the manager, and I was basically put on conflict training with this person, and I was told that everybody attends this, and this person has been there longer than me, so she's not a newcomer. I was told that we all work as a team here. You have to get along and work with other people. I was also, when I tried to explain like why the person might be behaving this way, because we do have this issue in our culture that, if you speak clear English, sometimes people who don't speak clear English, they are envious of you, and they try to show this in their behavior. Yes, it's a passive aggressive behavior such as this, ignoring you, not helping you. And I was mentioning to the manager, who's actually the same nationality as me, because I thought, he could understand. But what he did, he went and talked to people who are not of the nationality, who didn't understand, and who thought I was being biased against a person. Basically, all three of us, all the people involved, me, the person who I worked next to, and the manager, from the same community. Yes. So, even though he got it, the people he went to advise for his managers didn't get it. So this is why I was getting all this advice about I need to be a team player, I need to be professional. I'm supposed to be working with every nationality, which is a load of rubbish, because that's exactly what I was complaining about. When you go into a workplace, somebody doesn't even greet you, you don't even know who these people are. And one by one, I'm slowly finding out about stuff, but it wasn't a place where people have gone in and said, hello, I'm this person, this is my name, welcome. That was simply it. So then, anyway, I went to the conflict training today, and I'm telling you, it's all upside down, which is obviously, something to expect from the Matrix. So don't think you're going to some training and it's going to help you, because there's so many things that I noticed in this training that were upside down. So the trainer came from a background similar to mine, actually, and then I mentioned this in class, and then she was making a big hula about it, that somebody would only bring up that they have this experience, that experience, for a reason, as if I'm trying to big myself up. What I was trying to do was help her feel better, because she had made a comment when she announced her background that she didn't want people to hold it against her. And I was trying to say, well, I've actually been in that background as well, to make her feel better. But again, she was such a negative thinker that she thought that I was trying to build myself over her. The point of it was, the whole session, I actually gave her answers, and I was more experienced than her in what she was trying to teach. This was conflict training that they had put us in, but I actually was giving her material that she could use in her own presentation. Yes, and rather than saying thank you, I think she was a bit intimidated by me. And throughout the session, she used several tactics to undermine me. So the session, like I said, began, sort of supposed to help us with work, how to deal with conflict, any kind of conflict. And the statistics are generally, which she gave, which you can find this on the internet, that every time you interact with somebody, there's three aspects to look at. that make a difference. So your words, the tone you use, and non-verbal communications. And then she asked us which is the most important. And I said it's non-verbal because you can tell a lot from a person's gestures, and that is correct. So 55% of um, um, your interaction with somebody is non-verbal. So you actually see what's going on for them, body language, this and that. 38% is about tone, how you actually say something, whether you're friendly, whether you're not. And words are actually only 7%. So only 7% of what you say is important and brings the message across to someone. So, sometimes you go, to mentors in the matrix and you think that they're going to help you, but they are spiritually sick. Yes, this is something you must understand, that it doesn't mean that they're given this title, trainer, mentor, whatever it is, that they are better than you, that they are able to heal you. Because normally, what I have found anyway in this occurrence is that this person was, in dire need of help that she was training others in. So although she called herself a conflict trainer, she needed a lot of help with conflict herself. And the only reason she hadn't done it is because she didn't think there was anything wrong with her. And she had this huge ego that even if you would, there's a point in the class where I tried to say it's good to sort of make improvements and learn, when we make mistakes. She just, she brushed that aside and she tried to pretend she was doing something else, handing out something, whatever, and just ignored my comment. And I'm going to go through some of the things that I experienced to help you understand, how things can get topsy-turvy with you coming out feeling worse than you did when you went in. This training was supposed to be about resolving conflict, and it actually created more conflict for me. But you must understand that you have to heal yourself, and don't think that there's anything wrong with you, because this lady basically felt uncomfortable because I was more knowledgeable, had more experience than her, and yet she was the trainer who was training us. Yes. So what I found was that she was watching me. She was watching me when I was looking at some of the other people in the group. And what worried me was one of the managers that was sitting there. He would just laugh at everything off. Yes, he really wasn't serious, taking anything seriously, so he wouldn't have to deal with it. And the person who I actually had conflict with, who was the person who was working next to me, who blanked me, and this is the reason why we were put on the conflict training. She was given a piece of uniform that I hadn't been given yet, and I was looking at it and I was thinking, oh, I didn't notice that, because it wasn't mentioned to me. So I'll have to ask the manager about that next time. And I think the woman, the trainer, she thought that I had something against these people or a grudge, but she kept watching me, as I was watching them. So, treating me as if I'm being suspicious, not really knowing the reason why I'm looking at them. And, trying to read my thoughts, which weren't negative at all. It was her thoughts that were, it's her interpretation of the situation. And there was a point where I suggested a role play because I'd come across a difficult customer, and I was saying, let's role play and see how to deal with this conflict. And she said we'd do it later. She did it, but she did it with the person who was sitting next to me. And then later on in the day, I had to ask her again, can we go through that now? So, no, this is another way she was trying to undermine me. Then we did a group exercise where we were standing and she was showing like comfortable space between two people when you're trying to talk to someone. And she practiced it with everybody in the group except me. And when I mentioned this, she said, oh, I can't do it with everybody, which was ridiculous because she just did it with everybody. But I can't argue with everybody at every point, you see, because this is what she was trying to do, was undermine me. But logic, everybody, if they're using their head, they would have seen that, I was the only one left out. Also, the person that I had conflict with, who was sitting, next to me during a shift, she was constantly complimented by this trainer. Anything that came out of her mouth was like, honey. We were asked how we would say to customers, how can I help you? The tone we would use. And although she was being fake, she, you know, the trainer was saying to her, "Oh, that's so lovely, that's so lovely," you know. And it was just, again, the trainer knew the reason why we were on the course, and I had told her during the break that it was because we had conflict with us two people, and the person who I had conflict with, she was bigging up. She was basically encouraging them, so that to basically enable them to continue behaving the way they were with me. Yes, and this was supposed to be a dispute resolution training. Also, the trainer was trying to show me up in front of the whole class. Yes, she said I had pointed at her or something like that. And basically, what I was writing notes. I had a pen in my hand, and I had put my hand up, and the pen was in my hand, and I was trying to actually get her attention when I was pointing at her, because what was happening was, because I was making such good comments, she was trying to blank me as well. She was trying to ignore me, and I was trying to wave at her to say that I had, you know, I want to speak, you know, when you put your hand up. She was trying to ignore me. And then she was saying that I was pointing at her. And then the person who I had an issue with, who was also sitting on my other side, basically the trainer had asked, you know, what's it look like when somebody's pointing at you? And she said, "Oh, it looks like you're being a dictator." So then I was labeled as a dictator. And this is how it went on and on and on. It was so ridiculous. And then actually I mentioned to the trainer herself that throughout the whole day of training, she was pointing at me the whole time, you know, which was very ironic. I've kind of noted down some points here that I'm trying to cover. Um, yes, there were times that I wanted to make comments, and I remember there was a point where somebody and myself wanted to make a comment at the same time, and I let the other person go first. But the trainer didn't get back to me and ask me what I wanted to do. She drilled on to the next topic, didn't make eye contact with me, like she was pretending that she didn't realize, you know, I hadn't made the comment. It was obvious. And she was again trying to inhibit me from making a comment. Yes. So this is another way she was undermining me. She also said that when we interrupt others, we are not listening, because I had to interrupt her when I was waving my pen around to get her attention. And I did admit to that. I said, yes, I did interrupt. And then the person who I had conflict with, who I was put in the group with, you know, the worker, again, she was tutting as if, you know, like I'm admitting to some wrongdoing. I wasn't. I was open to improving, and nobody asked me why I was interrupting. The reason why I was interrupting was because I couldn't get a word in edgeways. Yes, because the trainer didn't want to hear what I had to say because I knew more than her. Yeah, that was the issue. But obviously they wouldn't want to hear that, so it's just as well. And this is what I found throughout the day, that was the issue, that you know, they were making their own assumptions about behavior, yes, rather than fixing their own behavior. And I did mention an incident where a manager had let someone into the building without a pass, and the other manager that was on the training said there could be several reasons for this, and normally IDs checked on the register on the computer. And I said this wasn't done. The lady was just kicking up a fuss, getting angry, and so the manager decided to let her in. And then the trainer said, "Oh, you can't blame the managers for doing different things. There could be all sorts of reasons." The point of the matter is that he wasn't following procedure that we are told to follow. And, you know, again, this was being covered over, and I was seen as the person who's blaming him, yeah, for not doing his job properly. Again, so this manager basically will be working with the other managers and spreading this and saying, I was blaming him, yeah. That wasn't the case. I was standing up to the fact that he didn't do something right, which the other managers, they suck up to this guy because he's been there the longest. Nobody will stand up to him, yeah. But what he was doing was wrong. And the trainer was just egging him on even more, yeah. So now, future shifts, I'm going to feel the repercussions of that. Yes, I'm going to be seen the one as the one with the problem. So what the trainer was doing was making subtle efforts throughout the training to turn the group I was working with against me, because she had jumped to the conclusion and used negative assumptions that I was a threat because I knew more about the subject and made several useful points that helped her in her presentation. So, we go through these things and, you think, oh, yeah, I'm going to get this training, it's going to help me. But what actually happened to me is that I actually felt worse coming out of this training than I did going in. Not only didn't it resolve any conflict, it actually encouraged the people who had conflict with me to continue that conflict, continue thinking of me as a problem. They were pampered while I was basically told that I did this, I did that, I pointed, blah, blah, blah. And the person who had the issue with me was, labeling me as a dictator. None of this was going on in my head, yes. And the manager as well, who I thought I'd, kind of made a good impression with so far, was given a negative impression of me, as if I'm blaming the managers now for taking wrong actions. Yes. So, sometimes we go, came out of that. Just, when you kind of come out of something that's supposed to help you and it does the reverse. It's a bit like when you're in a position of, with somebody in a position of trust and you think they have your back, but you end up being abused. This is what happened to me. Yes, psychological abuse, and it was done by somebody who thought, or basically was being paid to help the group learn about conflict resolution. Yes, this person was creating conflict for me in subtle ways, like I just mentioned, throughout her presentation, throughout the day, because she had an issue with me because she couldn't see me as an equal. And she couldn't face the fact that there's somebody in the room that is familiar with her background, that she has more experience in it. And more experience because I'm a minority as well, because I can actually speak from a stance of struggle, of having to fight for everything, always being treated unequally. Yes. And I think she felt uncomfortable about that. Although she was, she's had this ego where she felt justified, she was better in some way. And this is old fashioned thinking. Yes, this is how the old schoolers think, that all this privilege they had, they earned it. But it's a mental sickness because they don't see that they're flawed. Their thinking is flawed. It's negative. It's biased, and it continues to help to kind of make people like myself feel worse than they do when they try to seek help, and make life more difficult for me. Now it's up to me now to survive the backlash of this kind of training, supposed training, which is actually, I found, was just a session of abuse against me. And throughout it, I kept speaking up, and they didn't like it. And it was, for me, it's such a struggle. And I know things are going to be difficult for me because I do speak truth, but it wasn't easy for me. And that was my experience. So, don't always think that because you're going to get help, that you will get that help, because people in the matrix, they are sick. Yes, they are sick, and there's no way you're going to get spiritually um, healthy advice from them where you can heal. You actually will have to heal from them, which is what I have to do now. I have to process what's happened to me. But I think the good thing for me is I know that I'm better, I'm stronger, I know more, I see more, and this is what bothers them, is that I see everything, I say everything, I always speak truth, and they don't like it. They want me to be like them, go through the motions, get paid for doing a crappy job, and I don't do that. So, these are the consequences, and I just feel like I I need to look after myself now, because if I keep going on and on and on, which I will, if people are hindering me, I have to speak up. Um, you know, I can see myself not being there much longer, not because I don't want to be there, but because of this office politics, is what I call it. Yeah, it's a nice job. I love talking to the public, but these people are just unbelievably unhelpful. So look out who you look to as a mentor. Right, thanks.